these things of culture, ethnicity, race greatly affect my students and greatly affect students that I know that are in other areas. And so what seems to happen is, because of the neighborhood we're in, people make assumptions about our students. People make assumptions about their capacity to learn, assumptions about their future. And these assumptions are all wrong because they are mostly African American, and because of the stereotypes that exist within our culture and have been infused into our country. And they impact all of us differently. They impact teachers of all colors because it's communicating that the kids they're teaching won't be able to learn what they're teaching. This is wrong. This is false. It impacts me because I was once told I couldn't do things. I was once told that I couldn't learn. I talked too much and I wasn't going to be successful because of that. And it impacts our school in a lot of different ways. Some good ways because people are giving money because what is being done in the school, even though there are these stereotypes. But KIPP has this motto of no excuses, and so there's no reason that a kid can't learn if a teacher is willing to go above and beyond to meet that student where they are. I just finished watching this video called The Lunch Date, and there was a woman who saw a big black man, and he had actually sat down where she was sitting and was eating her salad. She had just gotten up for a fork, and so she gets back to the table and she's grumpy. She's very grumpy. She's confused. She keeps telling this man, "You ate my salad. You're eating my salad." And she goes to grab for it, and he kind of hits the table, and she's like, "Well, I don't really know what to do," but she has this fork. And so she decides with this fork that she's just going to reach in and start eating, and this man goes and gets some tea and brings it back. And she gets up to leave, and she has to come back because she forgot her bag. And she looks, and she sees this table with her salad on it. And it was kind of one of those moments like, "You're kidding me." And she laughed, but it actually isn't funny, and people make assumptions like this all the time. What assumptions do they make? I think people of color are associated with bad things, with mean things, with uneducated things, with stealing and going to jail and broken families. And the majority of white assumptions are wealthy or rich, well-spoken, accomplished, graduate. And it's been going on in the country for years, but I think that we all know people who fit these stereotypes, and we all know people who constantly break down these stereotypes. And I think we just make assumptions that they're different, that they're not as great, and this would all be false, which is why it's an assumption, not truth. At KIPP, we ask this question regularly: what's with the dichotomy? What's up with that? And it turns out that every kid has the capacity to learn. Every kid has the capacity to be successful. It's just that figuring out of what unlocks them, what makes them learn, what makes them tick. What are they excited about? We have students that I've seen that, like, teachers are so frustrated, and we've come to find out they can't read. It's really hard to go in school and not be able to read, so of course you'll act out. Or we have kids that refuse to learn, and you break that down, and it's like, why don't you want to learn? They're scared to be great, scared to be successful, scared to be smarter than their parents. It's such a hard battle and a hard line, but the dichotomy ultimately is with us, with some funding, with bad schools, with bad teachers. students can all achieve if they're given the right environment, and that right environment is different for everyone. But it's a right to that environment to learn. We've read tons of books about equity, about this line that schools in Massachusetts and schools in Pittsburgh and schools in Philadelphia, schools in New Jersey are trying extremely hard to come close to this line that every student can learn, but every student doesn't learn the same. And some students need to learn more foundational things, but they're still capable of being successful. And everybody needs to have access to the goodness that is a solid education. So it's important for kids to know that they're respected, that they're loved, that it's not fair, but it's equal. One student might need extra help reading, another student might need extra help math, but they both need to be able to get their services. And that means everything. This last question is probably the biggest question that will ever be asked. Is how do you put this in your classroom? Why does it matter that it's in your classroom? And I think what it comes down to is all of these things within the classroom need to be thought through. Every single person comes in with biases and their own experiences and things they've learned and things they've read about. It's so important that you remember these core just values about equity and what it means to step into a classroom at a level playing field, that the kid who needs reading help and the kid who needs math help for this one project can both get it, knowing that even though one might need a little more help, they're both able to get the help to have the best education they can get. And it's a very foreign concept to a lot of schools, a lot of school systems, and so it's even more important that within the classroom, students feel the ability to share, the ability to show ownership in what they're learning, and be a part of their own learning. This includes asking questions for understanding, assuming the best in students, having great dialogue and conflict, all of the above. Students become essentially citizens of your classroom, understanding how to treat people and taking an ownership in that at all costs. There's no other alternative to this. Other things aren't working. But the equity that you can build in your classroom is the most important thing you could do for your students.